Hi, and welcome to our special edition of Humber News. I'm Scott Hokanen, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. Here's what we're working on this hour. Syrian government forces say they're on the brink of retaking Aleppo. The military says it controls 99% of the city now. Pro-government forces bombarded rebel areas non-stop yesterday. United Nations says Syrian government troops and allies are killing civilians in eastern Aleppo, including more than 80 people in the past few days. The UN says civilians are being shot in the streets trying to flee and being shot in their homes. There are also reports that more than 100 unaccompanied children are trapped in a building under heavy attack in the city. The UN calls the killings a complete meltdown of humanity and is urging both sides to stop the carnage. German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President François Hollande are calling for an extension of EU sanctions against Russia. The French and German leaders met today ahead of Thursday's EU summit on the conflict in Ukraine. Both leaders say the EU must continue to impose sanctions until a peace deal is implemented. A deal was agreed in Minsk last year, but so far there's been little success carrying it out. Here at home, City Council is debating the controversial proposal for road tolls at City Hall, and it will make a decision today. The mayor's spokesperson says the motion to introduce road tolls on the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardner Expressway will be voted on today. Mayor John Tory has designated the road toll proposal as the key matter of today's City Council meeting. City staff say a $2 toll on both highways would generate $166 million annually. Mayor Tory says highway users, including visitors to the city, should be asked to make a contribution to the cost of keeping Toronto livable. If the motion passes today, it will then go to the Ministry of Transportation for approval. U.S. President Barack Obama says he will be paying attention to President-elect Donald Trump's policies once he takes office in January.
I'll be paying attention. I'll be a citizen of this country that I love deeply. And I don't anticipate that I suddenly just vanish.
The president sat down with the Daily Show's Trevor Noah to discuss what role he will play when Trump takes office. He says as a U.S. citizen, he will speak up if he feels the rights of Americans are jeopardized by the new administration. Trump has proposed a temporary ban on Muslims entering the U.S., an act that Obama says violates the Constitution. Obama says he is hopeful the policies he puts into place in his last 8 years in office will survive the next 4. The scientific community is expressing concern with President-elect Trump's stance on climate change. Scientists are attending the annual meeting of the American Geophysical Union in San Francisco. Reports are surfacing that Trump will name Oklahoma Attorney General Scott Pruitt as head of the Environmental Protection Agency. Pruitt has been an active opponent of the Obama administration's measures to curb climate change. A new study says the world's polar bear population is set to decline 30% over the next 35 years. Researchers combined polar bear data with satellite images showing the loss of Arctic sea ice over the past several decades. The results indicate thousands of fewer bears compared to the estimated 26,000 roaming Earth today. Polar bears rely on floating sea ice as platforms for everything from hunting to mating. The findings were presented at the San Francisco conference as part of a discussion about climate impact on wildlife. To Germany now, where a former policeman has been sentenced to more than 8 years in jail on cannibalism charges. Officials found the victim's remains buried in a police officer's garden in 2013. However, the murder seems to have been consensual as the two men met on a website dedicated to cannibalism. The two men had extensive contact through emails and text messages before eventually meeting in person in November 2013, where they agreed on the killing. The officer was found guilty of murder and disturbing the peace of the dead. Turning to sports, the Air Canada Centre was on fire last night when the Toronto Raptors took on the Milwaukee Bucks. Norman Powell scored the last basket of the game with less than 6 seconds left on the clock, giving the Raps a 122-100 win. The team has won 9 of their last 10 games and have defeated every team in the Eastern Conference they've played so far, except for the Cavaliers, who they've lost all 3 games to. The Raps are set to play the 76ers in Philadelphia tomorrow at 7. The Lou Marshall Award is being presented today, and there are quite a few notable names on the list. Two-time winner Sidney Crosby is up for consideration again, while Olympic stars Penny Oleksiak and Andre DeGrasse are among the top contenders. Last year's winner Carey Price was the first goalie to ever win the award. Some big changes could be underway for Toronto FC. The expansion draft starts today, meaning free agents are now able to negotiate contracts with all MLS clubs. 2 days after their loss to the Seattle Sounders in the Cup final, Toronto FC announced that it declined contract options to some of their players. Some notable players left unprotected are goalkeeper Clint Irwin and midfielders Benoit Cheroux and Will Johnson. A large part of their reserve players are up for the trade as well. And that's it for sports. Now here's Faria with the latest weather update.
Thank you, Scott. It's finally starting to feel like winter in Toronto. This is a 3-day weather forecast. Today there's a high of 0 degrees and a low of -9 degrees. Moving on to Wednesday, there will be a high of -4 degrees and a low of -10 degrees. Towards the end of the week, it will be chillier with the chance of flurries. There will be a high of 7 degrees and a low of 10 degrees. If this continues, we'll have a white Christmas. Back to you guys in the newsroom.
Thanks, Faria. We end our special newscast today on a lighter note. Looks like Toronto's pandas are enjoying the beginning of winter. Most people were dreading the 15-centimeter snowfall this weekend, but not our panda cubs. The Toronto Zoo has become a winter wonderland for them. This is the second winter the cubs have been at the zoo since their birth in October 2015. We're pretty sure that these guys will keep warming our hearts through the cold, cold winter. That's your special Humber newscast. Happy holidays from all of us at the Humber News team.